Just a Goblin just hit its turning point in the most recent chapter. A fun and fantastical series that follows the fantasy world with goblins, adventurers, magic, and more. But in the most recent chapters, the series has taken a really interesting turn in, for my opinion, the best. The fantasy world and genre is one of my absolute personal favorite types of stories. There's just something about a fantasy world that I absolutely adore. Fantasy, magic, monsters, adventuring, quests, fighting larger than life boss monsters, new heroes and villains with interesting and unique magic and powers. These kinds of attributes in stories just get me so excited. And there are plenty of series that excel with these attributes. Honestly, there's too many to outright list here, but with so many series that excel with these kinds of stories, what makes the series of today, Just a Goblin, stand out above the rest? Well, like the series title drops, the series is just about a goblin. There's no clickbait here, guys, because we follow the horrible and downright brutal lives of goblins. Goblins are funny creatures. Goblins are the fodder monster we usually start an adventure off with. Anything from D&D to actual Webtoon series like The Lone Necromancer or Return to Player. Our main character usually starts off the adventure by facing off against these green little dudes. Dangerous for a first-time adventurer, but simple for those with experience. The perfect starter monster. But as it turns out, the perfect starter monster ain't exactly a compliment for goblins, as they're hunted down because they're just so easy to hunt. They're killed because they're easy. Their ears, their linen, their teeth, so easy to collect and sell for a pretty penny. Goblins may be the starter monster that first hunts down adventurers, but after enough time and experience, goblins stop being the predator and start being the prey. And that's where we start our series. Just a Goblin takes a look at the secret lives that goblins have, their secret struggles, hardships, pains, and sufferings that they go through, as goblins are hunted down by adventurers for little to no reason, seemingly only because they can sell their parts for a quick buck. The series follows this life of goblins, but specifically two of them, Goblin and our main character, Nog. Nog is built a little different. Yeah, he's smaller and weaker than practically every other goblin, who values strength and numbers above all else. However, where he makes up for it is his mind. Nog is smart, like incredibly smart, smarter than not just other goblins, but even other humans and adventurers. He's smart enough to make his own gadgets and gizmos, anything from traps that work like 50% of the time, to an actual grappling hook from a wooden gun. Nog is smart, but those brains aren't exactly appreciated in his village, as they basically laugh at his face for his outside thinking that doesn't involve throwing more goblins into the fire and hoping that's enough. Especially when he suggests that they should figure out why adventurers hate them so much and are hunting them down. After being laughed at and mocked by everyone, including the village leader, which seems like you're failing at that job, he decides to do it on his own, with a little help from his friend Goblin, eventually trapping an adventurer, and while asking questions, they accidentally kill him, but the spirit of the adventurer system, maybe, I don't really know what this thing is, but this thing, Pip, leaves the dead adventurer's body and inhabits Nog, granting him access to a magical system that grants him unique abilities and skills that can put him on par with other adventurers. And after seeing his fallen comrades and siblings, he decides that, hey, if he's on par with adventurers and wants to be an adventurer, then why not become an adventurer? That's right, he's going behind enemy lines to figure out why goblins are being so mistreated by adventurers by becoming an adventurer himself. Even taking Goblin along for the ride, donning masks to hide themselves, pretending that they're gnomes, which work weirdly, and living, questing, and adventuring with adventurers. And for a while, that's what the series is really about. A goblin infiltrating the ranks of adventurers, gaining their trust, becoming friends, protecting each other, fighting alongside each other, and adventuring alongside each other. So far, it's a fun fantasy story about adventurers, but more than that, it's a story about a race that's overlooked, betrayed, and most importantly, brutally hunted and killed. And we get this perspective with three characters. Nog, sure, the goblin, he's the main character, but also two of our adventurers, Tyros and Goliath. Goliath is weirdly the most simple of them to explain. He's a straight shooter. A massive dude with the sword the size of a fridge and a weird spike ball at the end of the grip. Like, who does that help? That's just gonna hurt you. Whatever the reason, he's a big man with big hate, and he hates goblins. Self-proclaimed best goblin hunter, which is a weird stance to take, but for a man who wears goblin ears around his necklace, that's on brand. Goliath is a straight shooter. He hates goblins. He admits that loud and proud. They sell for solid money, sure, but in his words, they're ugly, filthy, and stupid. He's a brute, reckless, and self-centered. We know this, and that's the point of Goliath. He's supposed to represent that arrogance and hatred we see so much. But what I find more interesting is Nog and Tyros, especially in the most recent chapter, and oh boy, I finally get to talk about it. After a lot of adventuring, especially after defeating a massive mountain troll, our team of B-rank adventurers gets summoned from the Cromor Kingdom, the most powerful empire in the world, for an A-rank mission. A dangerous mission that involves a raid on a civilization of orcs that have been conquering and pillaging allied villages. Basically an all-out war against these orcs. And as the adventurers storm this civilization down and start to absolutely destroy it, unsurprisingly the orcs fight back, and some are very powerful. And while we're currently in the middle of this war, basically, there are two people that I want to look at. Well, one person and one goblin. Tyros is honestly a really interesting character. He's set up to be this stereotypical strong hero, with a really cool fire blade and a super cool jacket in the most recent chapters. He's kind, he's strong, he smiles all the time, he's cool, but what's more interesting to him is that he has a hidden side to him. Last time I talked about this series, I kinda thought Tyros would find out about Nog's hidden goblinness, and at first reject him, but later stand up for him, but now I'm not so sure. You see, Tyros is kind, yes, but he hates monsters, almost to a scary degree. Due to a really traumatic situation from his childhood that we've really only seen in glimpses, he hates monsters. Goliath himself acknowledges his unusual hatred of monsters, but he also hates being left behind by what I think is his A-rank sister to even Nog. He hates watching others surpass him and become stronger than him. There's this almost dark side to Tyros, an anger that's not in most other heroes that you see and read. Which finally brings us back to the hero of the story, our main character, the Goblin of the Hour, Nog. As a goblin, Nog has seen firsthand the pain and the suffering that adventurers and humans have caused him. He's seen friends and family die because of adventurers. He's questioned every time an adventurer has gone out of their way to fight and kill a goblin. But right now, he's right where the adventurers are in the exact same situation, standing side by side with these adventurers, going into civilizations of monsters and killing them. Sure, orcs and goblins don't have the best history, and orcs have done some troubling things, conquering and pillaging, sure, but based on whose perspective? The ones that view orcs as these shadowy devil-like monsters that are pure evil? It's not like humans and adventurers are blameless either. They might have done something to deserve someone fighting back against them. And isn't that what we've been seeing since the beginning of this series? A monster that adventurers hunt down and kill, questioning what they've done to deserve this pain and suffering? Nog himself sees what's happening around him, and what does it make him think about? When adventurers came into his home and killed his friends, his family. He's in denial that it's the same, but it really is the exact same situation, except he's on the other side. And so far, that's so cool. Look, I love morally gray characters. And the reason this situation works isn't because Nog is a morally gray character, but his actions are. Right now, he's able to justify it and reason around it, but soon those justifications and those excuses will run out. And he's gonna realize that he's on the same side as his tormentors. And I'm really looking forward to when that happens, because the series has been amazing at telling that story. So make sure to check out Just a Goblin, updating every week on Webtoon.